Alrighty guys, what is going on everybody? Welcome back here to another live stream, my friends. Happy Thursday, March 27th. Hope everyone is doing good. This is our second live stream of the day. We did one this morning. We are here with an evening update for you all. A little bit of a late stream today. But it's good to see you guys. Hope everyone is doing well. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. Let's see who we got here today. We have Paxton, we have Mark, we have Cam, we have Steady, we have Love for Food, we have Isaac, we have Amber, we have Jeff, we have Glendale, we have Jazz, Polly, Found by Chance, Misty, MP, let's see here, and of course everybody else who is here but just not chatting. Hope you guys are doing good. Once again, it's good to have you guys here for another update here. So we got some more info for you. We do got some more models and stuff like that we can look at here now. Actually, we're starting to get NAM involved. We're starting to get some mid-range model support now, so we'll definitely be talking about that here in this stream as well. Because, you know, while we are still several days away from this event, like we mentioned, the main days are going to be Sunday and Monday, we're getting closer. And because we're getting closer, that means that models are starting to, you know, or should start to really come to an agreement. And we really should start to see a lot of those mid-range and eventually short-range models come through as well. But anyways, let's see here. What's up, Karen? Hope you're doing good. What's up, T-Star? Saying, here we go again. Yeah, I know, man. I know. I hate to tell you all this, but I mean, it's beginning of spring, and you know, this is the kind of stuff that we have to deal with this time of the year. But like I mentioned, we'll walk you guys through this. We'll make sure you guys are staying weather aware, and you know, we'll keep you updated. We'll keep you updated. What's up, Team Kenny? Hope you're doing good. What's up, Catherine? Hope you're doing all right. What's up, Xavier? What's up, Anna? Saying, I'm in Houston. We are as ready as ever. Good to see that you're prepared, my friend. But anyways, what's up, everybody? Hope everyone's doing good. So let's just go ahead and jump on into it. This is Sunday's risk here. We're going to go ahead and start off with today's risk here because we do have multiple days worth of severe weather. So for today, on the latest outlook, they did remove that that risk that we had in Texas. We covered that this morning. We did have ourselves a level 2 slight risk earlier today for, you know, southern Texas and whatnot. That threat for severe weather is pretty much over. I mean, as you can see, we do have a marginal risk out for severe weather. Is that a flash flood emergency? Oh, hold on a minute. This is flash flood emergency here. Okay, this is in extreme southern Texas, out by far. Let's see here, Donna. Is that Mercedes? Is that how you say that? We do got a flash flood emergency in effect. So yeah, southern Texas is getting a lot of rainfall out here. I just want to go ahead and mention that. But we do have a little marginal risk out here in southern Texas. We do have another marginal across the Midwest here, that level 1 severe weather threat. So Overnight we do have the potential for a couple of strong to severe storms here for today across portions of Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois. This dark green area here, we do have potential for maybe a couple of strong, like I said, to severe storms. Tornado probability is non-existent across the Midwest here. We are not seeing any risk for tornadoes today. For the risk of severe weather in the Midwest, so we're good there. We still do have a very, very small 2% risk in southern Texas. Chance for an isolated tornado cannot be ruled out, but the threat is relatively low for that for today. In terms of damaging winds, though, the Midwest does have a 5% chance for damaging wind gusts here, potentially up to 60-mile-per-hour winds. It is going to be a possibility on, the storms here today, later tonight. So we'll need to keep an eye out there for a little bit of gusty winds. Same thing far down south in that little 5% area here. Once again, just potential for some gusty winds up to 60 miles an hour or so. And in terms of hail, also a little 5% down there in Texas. And, that's kind of the main concern throughout the Midwest here. So in that risk that we do have, once again, for, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, so once again, we actually do have a risk for hail out here as well. Now, hail size is going to be ranging mostly between 1 to 2 inches in diameter regarding the size of hail. That is kind of, how large we are expecting to see those hailstones. So just want to go ahead and point that out here. So that is that. Now tomorrow, we do have another marginal risk here, actually cutting through Nebraska, going through Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and even upper state Michigan with the first risk out there. The second risk, we have one for, coastal Texas here, central southern Louisiana with another level 1 severe weather threat for tomorrow. Now, given the tornado probability across the upper Midwest, we do not have a risk for tornadoes. However, I think they lowered the tornado risk. I think it was a lot larger than this. So that 2% here for tomorrow actually shrunk a bit, it looks like. For coastal Texas, through portions of Louisiana here, small 2% chance for tornadoes. While, yes, there will be the possibility for a couple tornadoes, we definitely can't rule that out. But, generally speaking, it's a relatively low in threat, and we're not really talking anything significant either. Just the possibility for a couple weak tornadoes, could not be ruled out here. Damaging winds, we do have a 5% chance out there for some gusty winds. Same thing for Nebraska, Iowa here for tomorrow, across the area here in Brown. Once again, for coastal Texas, Louisiana, potential for some damaging wind gusts, upwards of 60-mile-per-hour winds could be possible. So then we have hail. For tomorrow, southern Texas, we got a little 5% chance for hail here, and then we work our way into the main threat across the upper Midwest. So areas out by Minnesota, Wisconsin, upper state Michigan, the only concern for you guys tomorrow is just going to be the shot for hail. Not even damaging winds out here. You can see Wisconsin not in the active damaging wind threat. However, we do have that risk for hail. And once again, no tornadoes up here. So that's definitely good news. But the only concern up there for like Wisconsin, upper state Michigan is going to be the threat for some hail. Okay, I know there's a lot to go through, guys. I just want to go ahead and get all this out here for you. So that was Friday's concern here for tomorrow. So now we go into Saturday. Now, believe it or not, they actually added a slight risk here for Saturday. This is kind of where things are going to start to build up towards the big event. The risk that we went over, that's not the big event. The big event is still yet to come. And so we're going to really start to see signs of that kicking off here for Saturday. Storm Prediction Center here for Saturday already has a level 2 threat for portions of north central Oklahoma, eastern Kansas, kind of north central, northwestern, kind of western Missouri here. Got a level 2 threat for severe weather. Now, there is no breakdown between the exact probability for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds right now. But with that being said, we do have that level 2 threat. So just a little bit of an extra heads up for areas out by like Kansas City on Saturday, Wichita, Kansas. Some of you guys are inside of that level 2 threat. So we'll definitely need to be weather aware on Saturday. The marginal risk goes in through Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Can't rule out potential for maybe a little bit of strong to severe thunderstorm activity occurring, and that really kind of just shoots its way through central and going into western Texas here overall. So that is that. So then, guys, I'll get to personal areas here soon. I just want to go ahead and go over all the risk areas real quickly so we can just kind of show you all what the risk is like, and then we'll do personal zip codes and stuff like that. So hold tight for a minute. Like I said, we're going to get to it, but so that's for Saturday. So then we work our way into Sunday. Now, Sunday is going to be the first big day regarding the severe weather event here. So for Sunday, we do got this really big risk area here for Sunday. So this is a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather here, which, is a decent concern. It is a decent risk for potential severe weather. So for Sunday, areas in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. If I listed your state, there is some parts of the state, if not all the state, depends on what state you're in, where severe weather will be possible. So if you're in the yellow here, that is a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather within a 25-mile radius of your location. So once again, Sunday, if you're in the yellow, you're under the risk for severe weather, and you need to be weather aware for Sunday. So then we work away into Monday, and as that cold front advances eastward, so does that severe weather threat here. So for Monday, we do have ourselves, another pretty large 15% risk out there, including Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, portions of Tennessee, Virginia, Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and even New Jersey is in that risk here for Monday. So Monday's risk includes those areas here. Once again, same probability. It's a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather within a 25-mile radius of a given location, okay? So basically what that means is, we'll use Atlanta for an example here. So for an example, say you live right where that red dot is. We'll go ahead and make a 25-mile radius here. So there is a 15% chance probability that we could see some severe weather, within this radius. So, it's a 15% chance probability that we will see severe weather in this region here in general. So keep an eye out there for it. Once again, if you're in the yellow areas here, we definitely need you to be weather aware. Once again, this is Monday's threat. So if you're here across the yellow for Monday, we definitely need you to be weather aware. Once again, here's Sunday's threat in general, which is a little bit further to the west here. So, once again, Sunday, Monday, those are going to be the two big days. Now, going our way into Tuesday, there is no active risk or anything like that. Same thing for Wednesday and Thursday. And that's the end of the convective outlooks there. So, that was a lot. That was a lot I had to go through. But, once again, Sunday, Monday, those are going to be the big days overall. All right, let's go ahead and get to these chat comments here. Let's see here. What's up, Markle? Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Hope you're doing good, my friend. See, Catherine says, I feel like any home built from now should have a root cellar / tornado shelter required. Some places don't have like basements, like Florida. I live in Florida. We don't have basements down here, at least from what I've seen. Some places I could see that being yes. I mean, because, climate's different in different locations. Some areas get tornadic activity more than others. I mean, for example, out west, there's really not as much tornadic activity, as you probably know, as comparing to, the central and eastern country. We do get more tornadic activity over here. But, yeah, it just depends on the region, honestly. All right, Braven, I got you. Let's go ahead and start with these zip codes, y'all. So also, I'm going to dive into models, too, while we do this, because I do want to keep you guys informed. And, we're going to go over GFS and, kind of look at, what the atmosphere could look like for some of those areas there. So, okay, so you're in South Dakota. Braven, we are not in the risk for any severe weather out here in South Dakota. So we do have that risk, obviously, for Sunday. That is going to be the closest you get to severe weather, but yeah, you're far away from that risk area here. This region's not in the risk for severe weather. At least for the two big days, I should say. Here for Saturday, we have a thunderstorm threat. Here for Friday, we are just outside that marginal. Yeah, so we're good. No severe weather expected in the area. Anyways, let's see here. Brian says, can you tell me what the tornado risk is for Sunday? So we don't have the exact probability yet from the Storm Prediction Center regarding the exact potential for tornadoes. What I can tell you, though, is that, as a collective between, tornadic activity, large hail, and damaging winds, we do have a 15% chance probability here for Sunday of seeing severe weather. So, you can see you're in the yellow here. This is a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather here. Now, we're going to hop over to GFS here. We're going to take a look at the, at some soundings and stuff here. We're going to hop to the Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley area. So you can really see as we approach our way into, we have NAM available now. As we approach our way into late Sunday, you can definitely see that we do build in a lot of instability across Ohio. You kind of being up there in the north central side, you can see that we have a little bit of instability out there building in for late Sunday going into Monday. I'm going to grab a sounding, just to get an idea of what the atmosphere could look like. Take this with a grain of salt. Don't trust this, too much here. This is also NAM. NAM is an interesting model. So let me go ahead and bring up my pen here so I can kind of circle some stuff. Go ahead and get that up and rolling for you. Okay, so the first thing I do notice, actually, I need to restart that program because sometimes it likes to glitch on me, which it is right now. So let's go ahead and restart that. But one of the first thing I am noticing, though, with this sounding is the fact that we are seeing some pretty good wind shear. We do have some strong veering in the lower atmosphere. And that's a little concerning to me because, you can see that our lower level winds are going to the north, towards ground level. As we go up, a couple of kilometers, the wind direction significantly changes to the northeast. Our photographs are arching here, you can see, showing us that the wind direction is changing more east with altitude and increasing in wind speed. On top of all that, we have pretty high helicity values. Both surface the 1 kilometer, effective inflow layer, surface 3 kilometer, which you just need to know out of that. That's pretty high helicity values, which, it kind of allows for, that tornadic potential to be kind of decent, given those values. So tornadoes does seem to be a possibility in this sounding. So we'll definitely keep an eye out there for that. Remember, this is also one model, so take this with a grain of salt here. Pretty good amount of instability here. I also kind of see a little concern maybe for some, gusty winds and maybe some small hail, but definitely if this is what the environment looks like the day of, wouldn't rule out any tornadic probability. Looking at the GFS here, kind of grabbing another little sounding here just to kind of compare. It's obviously good to look at more than just one model here. So looking at the GFS, we still do have, some decent helicity. A little bit of a curvature to the photograph. So, yeah, tornadoes does seem to be a possible concern. Maybe some, hail, low-end hail, maybe some gusty winds could be possible. But, yeah, I do believe that tornadic activity could be possible, just given the environment here overall. So, hopefully that helps. What's up, JC Crew? Hope you're doing good. Let's see here. I'm a little far down behind. All right, Glendale, let's go ahead and take a look at yours real quickly. Let's see. So you, my friend, are up in Ohio. So, yeah, this pretty much applies to you as well. You're not super far from the last person we looked at here. So, given that you are in the 15% risk area here, kind of the same thing applies here. Once again, I'm going to grab a sounding a little bit closer to you. I don't really think there's much significant differential here. Yeah, the sounding looks fairly similar. A little bit of an arch in our photograph there, a little bit of veering in our lower levels. Can't rule out potential for some tornadic activity and whatnot. Nicholas, thank you for the 5. Can I get weather for West Des Moines, Iowa? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, so same thing kind of applies for you. So let's go and take a look at West Des Moines, Iowa. I guess you're in this area, my friend. So this is going to be here for, I think we're already on Sunday's risk here. So I don't believe that you're in the risk here for, as of right now, Sunday, you are not in that risk area here. Same thing for Monday, that goes further away from you. Once again, Nicholas, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. However, I will say, though, for Saturday, we do have a level 1 severe weather threat. There is no breakdown right now, regarding the exact probability. There is no exact probability for, tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. I can't really break that down quite yet. Saturday, though, there is potential for maybe, a little bit of strong to perhaps severe thunderstorm activity. Let me go ahead and hop back to NAM here. See what we got going on. So, yeah, you can kind of see as we approach our way into, as we go on our way into Saturday, actually late Friday here, you can kind of see we build in some instability throughout the region here. So you're in that risk out there for day 3. So today's Thursday, so tomorrow will be Friday, day 2, and then, yeah, going into Saturday would be your risk here. So for Saturday, NAM does not really show that much instability for Saturday. It shows a pretty good amount of fuel in place, relatively capped out. It'll be hard for storms to fire off in this environment. The good news is that, like we mentioned, you are in the lower end threat. So while, I would keep it out there for severe weather on Saturday, as of now, the big threat is just east of you. So you should be pretty good. Just, keep it on the radar on Saturday, and we'll keep you informed if anything crazy happens. Once again, I appreciate the support, my friend. Thank you so much here. Alrighty. Let's see here. I am really, really far behind here. All right, let's see here. What's up, gaming? Hope you're doing good. What's up, Holly? Missy says, what will I get, Andrew? Not sure. Let's see where you're at. You are in the zip code. Okay, let me pull yours up real quickly and see what kind of risk area you're in here. So you're up here in Missouri. So for Saturday, we have a marginal level 1 threat for severe weather. Going into Sunday, we do have a 15% risk out there. So definitely need you to be weather aware on Sunday. Definitely keep an eye out there for that region. You can see we kind of build in some instability here for late Saturday going into Sunday. A lot of that heaviest activity, honestly, is mostly going to be to your south. Most of that activity, but you are in a 15% region here for Sunday. So make sure you are staying weather aware. There is possibility for severe weather both Saturday and Sunday. So we'll definitely keep an eye out there for that. T-Star says, would it be possible to get an estimate on when storms will come through northwest Tennessee? So given the fact that it is still, a good 4 or 5 days out, timing is still a little iffy. We're not going to really be too confident in that until, at least like the day before. We can get ideas a little bit further, but right now, considering 4 or 5 days out, there is still a lot of things that can change, and timing is not the easiest thing to forecast with severe weather and whatnot. But given that it's a little early, remind me in a couple days here, and we'll look at the timing. Okay. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. Let's go. I'm actually going to go down a little bit real quickly, you guys. I'm sorry if I'm accidentally going over comments. Like I said, I'm a little far behind here, so I'm going to try to catch up with the chat here. All right, let's see. Landon, got you, my friend. Let me go ahead and take a look at your area real quickly. See what we got going on out there towards you, Landon. So you are actually in that risk for Sunday. That actually includes some of the Houston area here. We do have that 15% region for possible severe weather out here. The good news is that our winds throughout the atmosphere, our wind shear is a lot weaker the further south you go, which would really kind of, prevent anything super significant from occurring, regarding like tornadic activity and whatnot. You can see the further up we go into the Midwest, the stronger our lower level winds and just our wind shear in general increases. But you being out there by like Houston, our wind shear is going to be on kind of the lower side, which is good. So honestly here for, as we work our way over here into Saturday, you can actually see we do build in some instability here for Saturday. That's not going to be the big day. Once again, Sunday is the start of the big day, but just grabbing a quick little sounding for Saturday here too. Definitely got quite a dry mid-upper level atmosphere here. Honestly, there could be some hail concerns in a sounding like this, but like I mentioned, our wind shear is very weak, at least in our mid-lower atmosphere. That would not really allow for anything super crazy like tornadoes to really occur. If they did, it would be weak on the low end. Possibly some gusty winds, maybe a little bit of hail is kind of your main thing. But then we work our way over here into, like I mentioned, later Sunday. We'll go ahead and grab another sounding out here. Just take a peek on, what we could be looking at here. Remember, Sunday we do have that 15% here. So here for Sunday, we do have a little bit of veering. You can see in the lower atmosphere, our winds are, starting off, moving kind of to the north, maybe slightly northwest, but then changing their direction here to the northeast as we climb up in elevation. So looking at our hodograph, you can kind of see there's a little arch here, suggesting just that, that the winds are changing direction and increasing in wind speed with altitude. Given that we do have that veering, and we do have relatively low helicity values, it could allow for potential tornadic activity, but given the wind shear and that it's so weak, on the lower side, I should say, if we did get tornadic activity, it would likely be weak and relatively brief. Tornadoes likely would not be long-lived because of the lack of wind shear. But given the fact that we have it in place, on the lower scale, tornadic activity cannot be ruled out. Great moisture supply, lower atmosphere, lower 70-degree dew points. You're going to notice it being quite muggy out there. Decate values 1,300. That's pretty large amounts of downdraft and downwards instability. 1,300 joules per kilogram. That's quite a bit. So we'll need to look out for also potential like damaging wind gusts and whatnot. And even hail, considering that we do have a pretty dry mid-lower atmosphere, could really enhance that hail growth, and especially, with a pretty good amount of instability on that layer as well. So given that, all hazards does seem possible, but like I mentioned, if we did get tornadic activity, it would likely be on the weaker side of things, okay? So that's what I would go off of for now. Let's see here. Anyways, all right, next up we have ourselves, let's see here, Logan says, hey, Andrew, seeing for my mom, could I check on the zip code? Yeah, I got you, Logan. Let me go and pull that up real quickly. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So this is up in Illinois. Okay, so Illinois currently is not in the risk here. Or sorry, this portion of Illinois, I should say, is not in the risk here. So you can see for Sunday, this is when that mess kind of starts. Sunday, Monday are the two main days here. So as of now, Sunday, we do not have the risk here. Looking at the models, I don't think a lot of the instability reaches up that far. Yeah, you can really see as we approach our way into like the afternoon of Sunday, the instability, the fuel for storms doesn't really reach up that high. We might have a little bit of, looking at most unstable instability here, little traces amounts of instability. Honestly, not seeing much potential out there. Not really seeing much potential. So right now, I'm not really concerned for that area, Logan. They should be pretty good to go. With that being said, though, expect some strong winds because yeah, that's going to be another thing here. Let me bring you guys over here real quickly. I do want to show you guys this threat here. So with all this going on here, we actually are going to be seeing the possibility for really strong winds as well. So let's go ahead and bring up the, let's see here. Go and pull up my filters here. If it'll even load them. Hold on. Let's go ahead and bring this up. All right, we're going to hop you guys over here to this, this program here. And let's see here, we've surfaced. We'll go ahead and pull up those winds here. We'll take a look at the NAM because, yeah, with this system, just because of how strong that low is going to be, there is going to be quite strong winds going through some of these regions here. And out there by Illinois, you guys can see the time in the top right here. You can see kind of right around the afternoon here for Friday. I mean, just how strong those wind gusts could be getting. 40, or stronger in some areas. Definitely some pretty strong wind gusts will be a concern, especially towards the Ohio Valley. I mean, look at this. Once we build our way into late Friday, early Saturday, I mean, look up there towards like the Ohio Valley. I mean, we're talking potential wind gusts, from this system being, 40, 50 mile an hour wind gusts out there. So winds are going to be quite strong. So despite northern Illinois not seeing that severe weather concern, given the fact of how strong this low is, it's going to be really kicking up some strong winds out there. So we are definitely going to be seeing, potential for really strong winds, once again, 40, maybe upwards of 50 mile an hour winds according to this model here. So that is that. We'll definitely need to be weather aware out there. And, we'll keep you guys updated with all of that mess as well. But just remember that is a concern here. All right, let's see here. Mega Man, I got you, my friend. Let's go and take a look at your area real quickly. Once again, everybody, I'm getting kind of far behind in the chat, so just wanted to let y'all know I might scoop down a little bit. I don't want to skip anybody's questions or anything like that. So I'm going to try to make it quick but informative as possible. So here towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So for Sunday, you're actually right on the edge of that 15% risk area. So I would definitely keep an eye out there for the possibility for severe weather Sunday, given that you're literally just right outside of that risk area. Looking at model guidance here from the NAM, just to kind of, get an example of what we could be seeing here. So for late, let's see, going into Sunday, you can see we definitely do build in some instability throughout the region. We're going to grab a little sounding here. Towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area here, just to kind of get a suggestion on, what the atmosphere could look like here. First thing I will note is we have a little bit of a temperature inversion, a bit of a cap. So storms might have a little hard time, punching through that. It's essentially a wall that the storm has to break through, because the temperature, instead of, you need it to decrease as you go up in altitude, the temperature is actually increasing slightly, which, slows down thunderstorm development, and then sometimes if it's strong enough can actually stop a storm developing in its tracks. But given a sounding like this, lower level winds are pretty weak, especially given the fact that we are further away from that area of low, that low pressure system. The further we are away, the weaker the winds are, which is good. However, our mid-upper atmosphere definitely is pretty strong, so we could get some pretty good storm organization going through here. But given the fact we have weak lower-level winds, and just the way that they're kind of looking here, tornadic activity would be little to none, which is good. The main concern, though, I would see in a sounding like this is actually the kind of between both gusty winds and hail. Looking at the SARS analog here, we do have some results that come up here of potentially a pretty large hail, and DK values, kind of the energy in our downdrafts, that air coming down from within the thunderstorm could allow for some strong downbursts and potential for some strong winds and whatnot. So between that, damaging winds and hail is really the main concern that I see for the Dallas-Fort Worth area here, at least from the sounding here. Just an example that we looked at. So keep it out there for it. We'll keep you informed. All right, Lori, I got you, my friend. Let's go ahead and take a look at your area real quickly, Lori. By the way, guys, if y'all could consider leaving a like, hitting that subscribe button, it'll be greatly appreciated. So, Lori, you are in the risk here for Sunday. So, Sunday, like I said, between Sunday and Monday, those are our big days. You are in the risk here for Sunday here in southern Illinois. So, you have a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather. So, we'll definitely keep an eye out there for that. We are talking, once again, a 15% chance probability as a collective between all hazards. Right now, given the fact we are still a couple of days away from this event, there is no specific breakdown between tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. That's not quite available yet, but generally speaking, we do have a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather out here in southern Illinois. Now, taking a look at the models, as a representation of what the atmosphere could look like here as we go into late Sunday, according to NAM, we do have a pretty solid amount of instability, to maybe upwards of 3,000 joules per kilogram. That's a lot of instability. Comparing this with other models like GFS, you can see that's a little different. GFS, the long-range model here, suggests slightly lower amounts of instability here for Sunday. But let's go ahead and grab a sounding according to GFS. Once again, just to kind of see what the atmosphere could look like for this time. So first impressions, what I do notice is that we, on the hodograph here, we have a slight arch. Given the fact that we are seeing those winds, starting from ground level going up in atmosphere, the winds are actually changing direction and increasing in wind speed with altitude. Now that creates an environment where some tornadic activity could be quite possible. And looking at our lower level winds here, you can see our surface winds, they're moving roughly to the northeast. And as you go up in altitude, the wind direction kind of changes more to the east here. So because of that change in wind direction and that increase in wind speed as we gain altitude, that could create some spin and potential for some supercells, and tornadic activity can't be ruled out. So also looking at our helicity values, could support maybe some low end tornadic activity. So tornadoes can't be ruled out given this model. Also hail seems to be a big concern as well, and damaging winds. I mean, this is kind of a triple threat sounding here. Potential for all hazards according to GFS. So look out for all hazards being a possibility here. Comparing this with NAM, like we mentioned, obviously NAM shows a lot more instability, which is likely going to be an outcome a little bit more aggressive on this model. Given the fact we are still a couple of days away, remember things can still change. To be quite honest, they're not as far apart as I thought they would be. I mean, NAM here does obviously show a little bit more instability in the atmosphere, but given the lower level winds and that veering, it's relatively similar to what the GFS was suggesting. So bottom line, hail, damaging winds, and a little bit of tornadic activity cannot be ruled out, my friends. So we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop here. Anyways, let's see here. I am really far behind. I'm so sorry, you guys. All right, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down just a little bit here. So next up, we have Amber. Wants me to take a look at a zip code. I got you. Like I said, I got you guys. If you guys could, once again, leave a like, subscribe, and maybe consider sharing this to your friends and your family just to help spread awareness, my friends. It'll be much appreciated. And like I said, the more you guys help share this, the more people we can help. So that would be much appreciated. And I'm sure they would appreciate it as well. That way we can keep everybody weather aware. So Amber, for your area, you do have a 15% chance here for severe weather on Sunday. So Sunday is going to be your risk day for, severe weather potential. So looking out here, so you're kind of up there in northern Kentucky. Actually, I used to live out there, not too far away from where you're at here. So, according to the models here, like the NAM, for example, as we approach our way into the afternoon, evening of Sunday, we definitely build in some instability out here. Grabbing a sounding, just once again, to kind of get an example of what the atmosphere could look like. Doesn't necessarily mean it will look like this, but it means it could, because models ain't perfect, but they give us a good idea of what things could look like. So given the atmosphere, for what the NAM suggests, what, the atmosphere could look like for this area, kind of the same thing for the last sounding we looked at. There is a bit of veering, you can see, so there's a little arch here. So that's telling us that the winds, as we start from ground level, at the surface, the winds are kind of going to the northeast here. And as we go up in altitude a couple kilometers, the wind direction actually changes more to the east here. So the wind direction is changing, and the wind speed is actually increasing too as we gain altitude. So because we're changing wind direction and we're increasing our wind speed, as we gain altitude, that's creating an environment where tornadic activity could be possible. Given our helicity values here too, suggests, there could be, some lower level spin. There could be some potential for tornadic activity. So we can't rule that out. Also, on a sounding like this, some small hail could be a possibility. We are looking at the potential maybe for, a little bit of hail on this storm here, possibly some gusty winds as well. Kind of a triple threat sounding here as well. Potential for all hazards. So that's, once again, that's also one model, one model run. So, between now and the day of the event, things could change, but just know that's kind of what we're, where we're standing right now. At least according to NAM here. Looking at GFS, obviously it's good to compare different models here. It's never good to just look at one. So you'll be seeing me hop between GFS and NAM a bit today. But looking at GFS, kind of to compare, just to see, how different they are here, regarding, what the atmosphere could look like here. Honestly, not too much of a difference. I mean, still kind of the same concern here, arching photographs here, suggesting that veering, that change in wind direction and speed with altitude gives potential for maybe some tornadic activity here once again. So tornadoes, gusty winds, some small hail could be definitely possible given, an environment like this here. Okay, so that is that. That is where we're standing here. All right, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down just a little bit. Oh my goodness. Holy cow. Proxy coming in with a $75 donation, dude. No way, man. Proxy. Thank you so much for the 75. Wow. Saying, glad to be here, Andrew, and the NW16 family tonight. Thanks again for keeping us all safe and informed. You rock. Like and subscribe so Andrew's channel can keep growing and help us stay safe in heavy weather. Proxy, you did not have to do that, my friend. That is really sweet of you. Proxy, thank you for the 75. Y'all in chat, please give Proxy a big thank you for the support. Proxy, you're amazing. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know, okay? I really appreciate that. Proxy, big thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. Big thank you goes to you, Prox. Once again, if I can do anything, let me know. I'm here for you. I appreciate it. All right, so y'all, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit in chat. I'm so sorry. I'm just getting really far behind here in the chat. So I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. If I accidentally go over your zip code, just post it again. Just don't spam it. If I accidentally go over your zip code, which I'm trying to get to as many people as I can, but if I accidentally go over yours, don't take it personally. There's just a lot of people I got to get over. We have to get through today in order to help you guys out. So, we'll definitely be helping y'all out, but just be patient. We'll get there. All right, so the next one we're going to take a look at here, I'm going to go just under Proxy's donation. Once again, Prox, thank you so much. Chandler wants me to take a look at a zip code. I got you, my friend. Let's go and take a look at yours, Chandler. Once again, I'm sorry I had to skip a lot of y'all. Like I said, it's not intentional. So one thing, Chandler, this is actually not a U.S. zip code. You can see all my results are in Russia. We're not expecting, at least I don't think we're expecting any severe weather out in Russia. But yeah, check your zip code, man. I don't know if that's U.S. zip code that's just not showing up or whatnot, but it's giving me results of Russia. This severe weather event's not happening out there, I'll tell you that. All right, let's see here. Matt, I got you, my friend. Let's see here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Matt's zip code real quickly. You're up here in Arkansas. So for Sunday, my friend, you are in that 15% chance probability for severe weather. So yeah, you definitely need to keep an eye out there for severe weather here on Sunday. So you being in kind of northern Arkansas here, let's take a look at the models. We'll see what kind of the models are suggesting in general. So for northern Arkansas, grabbing a little sounding for kind of Saturday afternoon. Remember, this is one model. This is one model run. Still kind of early guidance here. So, things can change between now and then. So keep that in mind. But looking at the soundings here, we have some pretty decent mid-upper level winds here. Our upper level, mid-level winds are pretty strong. Could allow for good storm organization to occur, keeping those storms relatively healthy. The good news is that in our lower atmosphere, those winds are very weak, which is good for us here on the surface. So that's definitely good news. And if you notice, throughout the atmosphere, the winds are relatively linear, relatively blowing in the same direction, no matter what level you're at. You can kind of see the winds are mostly just moving to the east here. And given that, our hodograph is relatively straight. So that is really, really good news. So I don't see much tornado potential here with the sounding. With that being said, though, we still got some issues potentially. We have a lot of results in potential large hail. Given the fact that our mid-lower atmosphere is relatively dry, could support some hail growth here. Given that there is a decent amount of instability around this layer as well. So that's something we'll have to look out there for. A bit of hail. Also, like D-Cape, our downwards energy, could support some pretty strong wind gusts and whatnot. So main thing here, I would say, is just really look out for the potential for damaging wind gusts and some hail potential. Tornadic activity, at least given this sounding, once again, things can change between now and then. Seems to be pretty low. So we'll see how things play out here. Okay. Anyways, let's see here. Who did we do? We just went through. I think that was that oversteers again? I think we just did. All right, let's go ahead and head over here to Hillary's. Let's take a look at yours, my friend. You are up in Michigan. So good news for you. Here for Sunday, you can see that risk for severe weather is just south of you. That does not put you in the risk for severe weather as of now. Looking at the models, it really doesn't look like we generate a lot of instability up there. Here for late Sunday, you can see we might get a little bit of fuel for storms, maybe a little bit of instability. It's relatively capped out, though. Thunderstorm activity would likely be pretty light. I don't really expect anything crazy as of right now. Models are not really suggesting anything super crazy in the area. So that's good. Once again, also SPC, Storm Prediction Center, does not have you in that risk area there. Okay. Anyways, let's see here. Chris, I got you, my friend. Let's go and take a look at Chris's real quickly. All right, so Chris, you're up here in Tennessee, my friend, kind of on the northwestern side. I got you. So let's go ahead and hop our way over here to, let's see here, Tennessee. I guess we look at this float view here. Okay, so as we approach our way into Sunday, let's grab a little sounding out here towards Nashville. Just the Nashville region here to kind of see what the atmosphere could look like here. But yeah, you are in a 15% chance probability for severe weather here. Okay, so one thing I do notice right off the bat here is that, looking at our wind profile here again, this is throughout the atmosphere. This is ground level. This is 1 kilometer up, 3 kilometers. So we're gaining altitude the higher up we go on this graph here. So the thing is that at our surface level, the winds are going to the northeast. So they're coming from the southwest, blowing to the northeast. As we gain elevation, you notice the wind direction changes to the east here. And looking at our hodograph, you notice how we have this nice arch here. So that is showing us that veering wind shear pattern that we do have, basically allowing for those winds to change direction as we gain altitude and increase in wind speed as well, allowing for that potential for tornadic activity. Tornadic activity does seem to be a concern here. On top of that, helicity values, 300. I mean, the effective inflow layer is, 300 SRH. That's pretty decent. Definitely could support some tornadic activity. So given a sounding like this, from what this model is suggesting here from the GFS, tornadic activity seems quite possible. On top of that, maybe some small hail, could be a concern as well. Perhaps maybe some gusty winds can't be ruled out either, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, definitely would keep an out there for, all hazards overall. But, tornadic activity seems quite possible. We'll definitely see. All right, let's see here. Proxy. There ain't no way Proxy just gifted 20 memberships. Dude, Proxy, thank you so much for the 20 gifted. Holy cow, dude. No way, man. Proxy, thank you so much for the 20 gifted on top of the already really generous donation you've given us. Dude, Prox, you're amazing. I appreciate you. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for your support. Prox, you're helping us keep us afloat. I appreciate you. Like I said, I really appreciate it. Those the donations that you've supported us with, will definitely help go to pay our programs and stuff like that, and help with everything. So Prox, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, my friend. That's very sweet of you. Definitely did not have to do that. All right, let's see here. Peachy wants me to take a look at a zip code. Gotcha. Let's go ahead and take a look here real quickly. So like I mentioned, if I accidentally go over your zip code, don't take it personally. There's just a lot of people I got to go and take a look at. So, try bearing with me. Like I said, I'm only one guy. I can only do so much, but I'm trying my hardest. So Peachy, out here by you were just on the outside of that 15% risk for severe weather. So Houston area, if you're in the Houston area, just keep it out there for this. So we do have potential for severe weather out here. You're right on the edge of the 15%. So yeah, you're going to be in that potential risk for severe weather. Definitely need you to be weather aware here for Sunday. Now, hopping down a little bit to the south here in the models, here for, pretty much Sunday, kind of late Sunday going into early Monday here, we definitely do build in a pretty good amount of instability. So let's go ahead and grab a sounding here from the GFS to kind of see what we're what we could be dealing with. So one thing I do notice is that we do have a little bit of a temperature inversion. It might be a little hard for some storms to develop in an environment like this, but the cap doesn't seem super strong. There is a good shot that those storms could still, break through that and develop. One thing I do see, kind of being right off the bat a main concern here, is actually damaging wind gusts. Damaging winds do seem quite possible. High downwards Cape values here, over 1,200 joules per kilogram. Pretty good amount of, pretty good amount of, downdraft instability. That is definitely a concern here. Looking at our lower atmosphere, wind shear is pretty weak, pretty weak. Our mid-upper level winds are pretty strong, but given the fact that we are, further south, we're in, southern Texas, kind of southern eastern Texas, we're far away from that area of low pressure, which will actually keep those winds a little bit lighter as comparing to going up to the Midwest, where the winds do increase in our lower levels. So tornadic activity, I don't really see being much of a concern. Honestly, main concern here would be just some gusty winds and some hail. Kind of giving a sounding like that there for Sunday. So we'll definitely keep you informed. Once again, this is also early guidance here. One model run and whatnot. So, we'll keep you updated. We'll keep you updated here. Anyways, goodness, dude. There's a lot to go through. All right, so let's see who we got next. So that was, I think we just, who did we just look at? I think we just looked at Peaches, right? Okay. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and take a look. Stormcaster has a question. Said, "Hey Andrew, I heard we got a slight risk for New Jersey on Monday." Yes, we do actually. We do have. So here for Monday, we're going to take a look at Monday's risk here again, real quickly. So this is Monday's risk. You can see we do have a pretty large 15% risk area. For portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, both North and South Carolina, Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, a little bit here of Pennsylvania, Delaware, and yes, up into New Jersey. we even do have that 15% risk here for Monday approaching you guys. So if you're out here, central southern New Jersey, for Monday, keep an eye out there for it. A little bit of severe weather will be possible overall. So keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and take a quick little peek, though. Let's actually see what's going on up there to New Jersey. I would assume the instability really starts to thin out by then, which it does appear so. For late Monday, according to GFS, there's really not a whole lot of instability left. Still could be enough for maybe some storm activity here. We'll see how models handle this. Looking at Euro, the ECMW after European model, kind of suggests maybe a little bit more instability here. Maybe a little bit more favorable for storm activity. Given the fact that this is still 5 days, I'm going to hold off for now. Looking at soundings and the fact that it's still pretty far out here overall. We will keep an eye out there for this region, but most importantly, Storm Prediction Center does believe that there is going to be that risk for severe weather on Monday for central southern New Jersey. So because of that, let's keep an eye out there for those regions, okay? Alrighty. Once again, Proxy, thank you so much for all those memberships. That is just really, I really appreciate it. Let's see here. Oversteer says you didn't do mine. I'm sorry. Like I said, there's a lot of people that we have to forecast for tonight. So if I accidentally go over your zip code, don't take it personally. It's not. I'm just, sometimes I lose track and, get far behind in the comments. So anyways, before this area real quickly, my friend, we do have that 15% chance risk here for severe weather on Sunday. So being northeastern Arkansas, we do have that risk out there. Now, hop into the models, to kind of see what the atmosphere could be looking like here. Take a look at the GFS. We're going to go back to mixed layer instability here. So instability throughout the atmosphere. Let's go ahead and grab a little sounding up here from GFS up in northeast Arkansas, what the atmosphere could look like. So one of the first things I do notice here, you guys could probably notice how it says potential hazard type tornado. I really don't like to look at that too much. I like to look at more of these specific ingredients in place. So what I'm actually seeing here, while this does say tornado, I wouldn't rule out that potential, but I would say it's pretty low. And here's why. So the reason is because, our wind shear throughout the atmosphere is mostly linear. I mean, if you look, as we gain altitude, the winds are pretty much blowing in the same direction from lower to upper atmosphere. Yes, we are gradually increasing in wind speeds with altitude, which, can promote tornadic activity. Our hodograph is relatively flat, relatively straight there. Not much curvature going on. Also, our helicity is relatively on the lower scale. So if we did get tornadoes, it would likely be quick and brief and weak. Likely wouldn't be anything significant or anything like that. So that's good news. Another big concern that I do see here, is a relatively dry mid-lower atmospheric, throughout the lower mid atmosphere, it is relatively dry. Could promote some hail growth, especially with a pretty good amount of instability throughout the layer here. So with that being said, hail does seem like a big concern, possibly some damaging wind gusts, and perhaps maybe an isolated tornado or two, weak tornado could be possible. We'll have to see what happens, but that's just, once again, one model run, one sounding. So yeah, we'll take that lightly. We'll take that lightly for now. Anyways, let's see here. Crazy says, we are living in my shop in Florida. How does the outlook look for it? So northern Florida for Monday does have a risk here. Let's see where you're at. Okay, actually, you're not too far from where I'm at, to be quite honest. So as of now, we're good, my friend out here. Yeah, we're relatively good. If we take a look at Monday's risk, you're just to the south of that 15% here. We'll see what happens. Let's actually go ahead and hop our way down to southeastern U.S. here. Let's take a look at Florida. I'm going to keep it out there for Tuesday, actually. Something I've been kind of keeping an eye out there for is that, while the wind shear is going to be fairly low, so the winds throughout the atmosphere is going to be very low and likely not allowing for anything super crazy to go on here, there still will be some lingering instability from this, decaying cold front here. I definitely do believe that there could be some storms on Tuesday. I don't know about severity, and like I mentioned, the wind shear definitely weakens quite a bit. Let me grab a sounding out here for Tuesday, just to kind of see, what the atmosphere could look like. There is a lot of instability. I will say that. Throughout, mid-upper atmosphere, there's a pretty good amount of instability here. Storms could fire off in this environment. They could, in general. But like I mentioned, our winds are very weak. I mean, lower mid-atmosphere, our winds are barely moving. So that wouldn't really allow for much of organization to occur. Look at our hodograph; it's just a bunch of squiggles because the winds is not really increasing in speed or anything with altitude, not that much anyways. So wind shear is very weak. It wouldn't allow for really anything big like tornadoes. Definitely would not be a concern in an environment like this. If anything, maybe some gusty winds. But, yeah, not really much. So I think we're good, man. I think we're good. All right, let's see here. What's up, Nikki? Hope you're doing good. Saying hi, Andrew. My homeowner's insurance denied me, but is good through the storm. What will be happening? I'm sorry to hear that. Let me take a look at your zip code real quickly. Let's see what we got going on for you, my friend. So you're up in Indiana. Gotcha. Let's go ahead and take a look out here. So your risk is going to be on Sunday. We do have a 15% chance out there for severe weather possibility. So, Nikki, keep it out there for severe weather on Sunday. It is going to be possible. Taking a look here back at the models, looking over here back towards like the Midwest and whatnot. So, looking at GFS here, the American Long Range Model, here for late Sunday going into early Monday. Grabbing a sounding, GFS does suggest maybe a decent amount of instability, in place for storms. Looking at the environment here, so at ground level, our winds are moving to the northeast, and as we climb up a couple of kilometers, the wind direction does change slightly to the east. Hodograph, we do have a little arch here suggesting maybe a little bit of veering winds. So that is allowing for the winds to, or what's essentially happening is that those winds are, as we climb up in altitude, the winds are changing directions more to the east and increasing in wind speed. Now that does give an environment where tornadoes could be possible. Helicity is, relatively, decent on the kind of mid-lower side. There could be some tornadic activity, yes, given an environment like this. That's kind of something that we definitely should keep an eye out there for, at least just given this sounding. Once again, this is one model run, like I mentioned, still early guidance, one sounding, of course, so take this not too seriously, but given if this was the environment the day of the event, there could be some tornadic activity involved, possibly even some large hail, maybe some, some lower end gusty winds and whatnot. So definitely need you to keep an eye out there for it. Remember, right now, SPC does have you in that 15% chance area regarding severe weather possibility. Okay, so that is that. Let's see. Athena says, thank you for doing so many questions, Andrew. There's so much information to get out there. Absolutely. You telling me about it. Like I said, I wish I could help out a lot more people at a time. And I feel like one-on-one zip code forecasts are really important because, it breaks it down for somebody's specific area. Now, unfortunately, with that being said, there's a lot of people that I have to forecast for, and so it is easy for me to get overwhelmed. But just know I am trying my hardest to get to everybody I can because I do want to help out as many people as possible, okay? So if I accidentally go over your zip code, once again, not intentional, I'm just trying to, sometimes I get lost in, far behind the chat, and sometimes I just, accidentally skip over somebody's, not intentionally. But anyways, like I said, I'm here for you. I'm here for you, my friends. We got you. We'll get through this mess together, I promise. Let's see here. All right, let's see. Alex says, what about New Jersey on Monday? I think we already did your area. So, yeah, New Jersey, like I mentioned, on Monday, we do have, central southern New Jersey in that risk area. Like we were talking about from the models, GFS really does not support much instability out there. Euro shows a little bit more. We'll keep it out there for New Jersey. Right now SPC does have central southern New Jersey here in that risk area. So, keep it out there for that if you're in the yellow. Alrighty. Proc says whatever I can do to help you grow and succeed, Andrew. Thank you, Proc. Seriously, you've helped us out so much, and I can never say thank you enough. Seriously. Thank you, Proc. Seriously. All right, Polly, I got you, my friend. Let's take a look and see what we got going on out here. So this is up in Texas. You're just slightly west of Dallas here. So for Sunday, so you can see like eastern, just east of Fort Worth, Dallas is in the edge of that 15% risk area here for severe weather on Sunday. You are just outside of that. Now, given the fact that you are relatively within the vicinity of this risk, you're not far away from it. I would still keep an eye out there for the possibility of severe weather and storm activity. You know, you're really not far from it. It wouldn't take much for you to be added into the risk area. I'm not saying you will, but, you know, it wouldn't take that much. I would still keep an eye out there for your area here, you know, just for now. But no SPC, you're not currently in the risk area here according to the Storm Prediction Center as of right now. But I still want you to be weather aware on Sunday, and we'll, as we get more information, we'll let you know, okay? We'll definitely let you know. Alrighty. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and all right, scroll down a little bit here. Thank you, Ragtie. I appreciate that. All right, Samuel, I got you, my friend. Let's go and take a look at yours real quickly. All right, Samuel, you are here in Mississippi. All right, so you got a 15% chance out there for severe weather on Sunday. The good news, like I mentioned, the further south we go, the weaker the wind shear does become in our lower atmosphere, meaning that tornado probability would likely be a little bit lower the further south you are. However, more moisture content, you know, more, a lot more concentrated, you know, more amounts of moisture. You'll definitely increase more mugginess. You'll definitely notice that down there. Let's grab a sounding here for from GFS here for late Sunday, going into early Monday. Let's just get an idea of what the atmosphere could look like. Once again, you know, one model run. Take it with a grain of salt. Okay, so there is some veering, actually. In lower atmosphere, our winds, so at ground level, the winds are moving to the north. So we have a little bit of that northerly advection, that air coming from the Gulf, shooting into the country. Winds are going to the north. Now, as we climb up in altitude a couple of kilometers, the wind direction does change to the northeast. One thing I do want to mention, though, is that our winds are fairly weak in the lower atmosphere, like we were talking about. As you can see, I mean, our lower level wind shear is about 25, maybe 30 knots in our lower levels, which that's kind of on the lower side. It's pretty good. With that being said, Hodograph does have a bit of an arch here, is suggesting some veering. There is some changes in wind direction and wind speed as we gain altitude. So that is potentially leading to a tornadic risk. You know, also helicity on the lower side of the scale here. An isolated tornado, relatively weak or brief tornado, can't be ruled out. You know, given this environment, yes, tornadoes would be possible. But, you know, it does not look anything significant overall, okay? One thing I will also say is hail. Hail does seem to be a bit of a concern. Also damaging winds even. You know, really just kind of a little triple threat hazard. Main concern, I would honestly say, is between the hail and damaging winds with a small leading tornado threat. Once again, lower level winds are very weak. If we did get tornadic activity, it would also likely remain very weak as well. So that is what, like, the GFS suggests for your area as of right now. Okay. Remember, that's also one model. Like I said, one model run. I have to say that a lot. That way you guys are, you know, that way you guys know. All right, let's see here. Just now be able to catch you live. Let's see here. I got you. Saying thanks, Andrew, for informing us. Help keeping us safe. Got you, my friend. No problem. Okay, so you're up in Tennessee, not too far from Nashville. So we do have a 15% chance here for Sunday from the Storm Prediction Center. So you are in that official risk area here from, you know, the Storm Prediction Center here. So from GFS, as we approach our way into, you know, later Sunday, taking a look at the sounding here, you know, just kind of looking at what the atmosphere could be capable of. Okay. So one thing I do notice, I hate to tell you this, but tornadoes does seem quite possible. I mean, you could see, first of all, our hodograph is a big arch. You see that big arch there? That is showing us that the winds, once again, are changing direction and increasing in wind speed with altitude. In our lower levels, towards ground level, our winds are going mostly to the north-northeast. And as we go up a couple of kilometers, the winds are pretty much blowing eastward. So there is a rapid change in wind direction and an increase in wind speed as we gain elevation. That is going to give potential for rotating storms and tornadic activity. Looking at our helicity as well, you know, potential for, like, you know, lower level spin and whatnot. Helicity values are actually fairly decent. Tornadoes definitely seem to be a decent concern here. So keep an eye out there for that. On top of this, also some gusty winds, maybe some small hail could be a concern as well. But yeah, honestly, in this area throughout Tennessee, it does look like tornadoes seems to be quite a possibility here. So remember, once again, this is early guidance here too. You know, we'll continue to update you over the next couple of days. But yeah, so keep it out there for that. Once again, SPC does have you in that 15% chance out there. Okay. Hoop says April 2nd looks crazy. That's actually my birthday. My birthday is on April 2nd, so I got a birthday coming up here. Dude, I swear, if we get severe weather on my birthday, oh my goodness, that's going to be something else. All right, Crazy, I got you, my friend. Yeah, so we already did your area here. I don't know if you remember. Like I said, you're just south of that risk area. Not expecting any severe weather for your area as of now. Tuesday could promote some storm activity, but the wind shear would be pretty much out. The winds will be pretty much dead in the lower atmosphere. So, not really any big concerns for your area. And like I said, I'm actually relatively out here as well. Not anything super crazy is expected for us here. All right, let's see here. Does it look like Western Long Island can be in a slight risk for Monday? So Monday, let's go and bring back up Monday's risk here. Take a look at that real quickly. So Monday, yeah, so we were looking at the models earlier, and it looks like instability, the fuel for storms, really thins out, once we approach this area. As of now, I wouldn't count on it. Definitely would not count on it. Right now that is just that 15% is just south of you. I wouldn't expect it to. I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what goes on there, but we'll definitely just keep an eye out there for it. Okay. All right. Let's see. A dog named Pistachio saying Ohio here too. Zip code. I got you, my friend. Let's go ahead and take a look at your area real quickly. All right. So you are up here in kind of north central Ohio. So that does put you in, let's see, a 15% chance out there for severe weather on Sunday. So hopping back to models, taking a look out there. So you, my friend, are, like I mentioned, kind of the north central side of Ohio. So let's go and grab a little sounding here from GFS, kind of for late Sunday, just to kind of see what the atmosphere is showing us here. So given the environment here, not a lot of fuel for storms in the atmosphere. Our wind shear, though, our winds in the lower, mid, upper atmosphere are actually pretty strong. They are pretty strong here. There's a slight little amount of veering, so the winds are, slightly curving. So there's a little bit of change in wind direction with altitude here. Some isolated tornadic activity could be possible, but remember, there's not much instability in the atmosphere here. That really starts to run thin the higher north we go. We'll have to see what happens, and once again, this is not final, by the way. So, with that being said, tornadic activity could not be ruled out in your area. Remember, you're in that 15% chance area, so we'll definitely need you to be weather aware, okay? All right, let's see here. Logan, I got you, my friend. Let's go and take a look at yours, my friend. Let's see what we got going on out here. Let's go and pull this up. So you are in Oklahoma. You are just just west of the risk area. So you can see right now the risk from Storm Prediction Center here on Sunday is just east of you. Hopping back to the models here, taking a look here at the GFS. You can see for late Saturday going into Sunday, we do build in a lot of instability out here in Oklahoma. It looks fairly capped out, in which storms would likely have a very hard time developing, in an environment like this. Yeah, you can see there's a warm layer in our lower atmosphere, kind of really allowing for storms to struggle to form, if they can even form in this environment. If they can, some weak tornadic activity couldn't be ruled out, gusty winds and whatnot, maybe some hail. We'll see what happens. But as of now, for Sunday, going into Sunday, though, yeah, you're not in that risk area as of right now. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. But like I said, that cap that's out there could be a problem for storms trying to develop there. All right. Alrighty. Let's see here. Amber says, have I done the zip code for Frankfurt? I think we did. If not, I'll do it again. So Frankfurt, yeah, we did do this area, but I'll do it again since you probably didn't see it. So we do have a 15% chance out there for severe weather. So from the Storm Prediction Center here on Sunday, we are in the risk area. So we do need to be weather aware out here, my friend. So there is that concern. Hopping over to the models to kind of, get an idea of what we could be seeing here. So you're kind of up there in, like I said, northern Kentucky here. So for late Sunday, we're going to go ahead and grab a little sounding here from GFS. Once again, take this with a grain of salt. Don't take this too seriously. Still early guidance, and one model run after all. But looking at the environment here, hodograph is a little arch. You can see a little arch there on the hodograph. So there is a little bit of veering winds. So our wind direction at the surface, at ground level, is moving to the northeast. As we gain altitude a couple of kilometers, the wind direction changes more to the east. So there is a slight change in wind direction as we gain altitude, and a slight increase in wind speed as we gain altitude as well. With that being said, that does promote the possibility for tornadic activity. Storm or helicity values here, does show that there could be, some rotation and whatnot within some of these storms here. So tornadic activity, bottom line, does seem to be a bit of a concern overall. Another concern could be some gusty winds. DCAPE values are fairly low, but given the fact that we do have some pretty strong lower level winds here, could definitely amplify wind gusts. So make sure that we are keeping an eye out there for that. There could be a concern out there for for some damaging winds and stuff as well. So some isolated tornadic activity, maybe some gusty winds, can't be ruled out in this environment. Okay. All right, Hoops, I got you, my friend. Let's go and take a look at your zip code. By the way, guys, if you could leave a like, hit that subscribe button. It'll be greatly appreciated, my friends. Okay. So, Hoops, you are inside of that 15% risk area here for Sunday. So you are in the risk area. So that's a 15% chance collectively, for seeing a severe weather. That includes the potential for tornadoes, large hail damaging winds, just all hazards. Generally speaking, severe weather possibility, there is a 15% chance, okay? Once again, there's no breakdown yet for tornadoes, large hail damaging winds. So right now that is, not available. We'll get that the day before the event starts, but with that being said, you are in that 15% risk area here for Sunday. Now, with that being said, taking a look here at your area on the models here, looking at the GFS. As we approach our way into later Sunday, kind of the afternoon here on Sunday, you notice how the GFS does support a pretty good amount of instability. I mean, nothing really excessive, but a pretty good amount of instability does build its way into the region here. So let's go ahead and grab a sounding for Sunday afternoon. Let's see what's going on out here, just to kind of get an example of what the atmosphere could be doing. So remember, one model. This is just one model run. So take this lightly. Don't take this too serious right now. We're just kind of getting an idea of what the atmosphere could look like. Okay. So here in the lower atmosphere, we do have a little bit of veering. So our lower level winds are increasing. So as we go up in altitude, the wind direction is changing a bit to the east here. And once again, on the hodograph, there's a slight curvature. There's a little bit of a arch going on here, which is suggesting that there is some veering winds in the lower atmosphere, allowing for perhaps maybe some supercell activity, potential for rotating storms essentially. On top of that, we have relatively low helicity values. So given this environment here, if we did get tornadoes, the good news is that they would likely remain on the lower scale. They would likely remain relatively weak, possibly. Nothing really super significant really expected, in a sounding like this. Tornado potential is there, but, it's on the lower scale. Honestly, another thing we got to look out for is just going to be gusty winds. Look out for some damaging wind gusts, on the storms that roll through. So between that kind of seems to be your concern right now. But remember, SPC does have you in that 15% risk area. Once we have the available information, for the exact breakdown, we'll definitely go over it whenever we get it, okay? Anyways, hopefully that helps. Goodness, I am so far behind. Let's see here. You're helping so many. Thank you. No problem. Roaster says Drew does a great job. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and Drew is a master of photographs. After many years of studying, it pays off to help out. Honestly, the information that I've gathered over many years of studying weather, I'm glad to be able to use my knowledge to help out people and help keep you guys weather aware. That's I want to do something with the knowledge I have, and not just keep it to myself. All right, let's see here. Let's see. All right, Polly, did I already do your zip code? I feel like we might have. Let's go ahead and take a look, though. Yeah, so you're just outside of that 15% risk area. Polly, I think we already did your area. So you are just west of that 15% risk area. However, I would still keep an eye out there for Sunday. Given the environment, we could still get some strong to severe thunderstorm activity in the general region. Plus, given this is an early outlook, there could be some big changes between now and the event. So keep that in mind. But I would definitely keep an eye out there for it. But no, as of right now, Storm Prediction Center has you outside of that 15%. All right. Let's see. BO6 wants me to look at a zip code. Gotcha. Let's see here. This is up in Tennessee, my friend. You're up in eastern Tennessee. Okay, so going from Sunday into Monday, we do have a 15% chance out there regarding severe weather. So we do have the potential for severe weather out there, my friend, between Sunday and Monday. Actually, we really haven't looked at the models out here. So according to GFS, you can see actually this model does suggest a lot of that instability actually just kind of fading out in eastern Tennessee. That could just be one model's preference here. Let's look at Euro. Yeah, Euro, looking at the instability here, you can see that, Euro does have a little bit more instability. Looking, then comparing with the GFS, GFS hardly has any instability building out there. So there is a bit of uncertainty here. And mid-range models aren't quite there yet. Let me grab a sounding for the morning of Monday, just to kind of see what the atmosphere could be capable of for at least the morning here. So we'll see. So given this environment, that's a funky photograph. Oh my goodness. Okay. One thing I do see in the sounding here is, yes, there is going to be potential for, severe weather, of course. We do have that 15%. I do see why. The good news is that our lower mid-level winds are, not necessarily the strongest, especially our lower level winds are not really super, super strong. We have the ever so slightest of, veering going on here. I cannot rule out, some localized tornadic activity, relatively on a lower scale, more than likely. We'll have to see what happens. I'm not really happy with forecasting this area right now, just because of how much inconsistency there is between the GFS, Euro, and NAM. Let's let it marinate for a little bit. Remind me tomorrow or the day after, and I'll be more than happy to look at it again, okay? All right, Chandler, I got you, my friend. Let's see what we got going on here for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at here. By the way, guys, if you could, consider leaving a like, hitting that subscribe button. It'll be greatly appreciated. All right, so this is for Springfield. So Springfield is in that 15% chance here for, for Sunday. So Springfield does need to be on the lookout for severe weather here once again for Sunday. We do have that 15% chance probability for seeing severe weather out there. Hopping over here to the models again. We're going to bring up GFS. As we approach our way kind of in the morning of Sunday here, the environment seems fairly capped out, meaning that storms could have a little bit of a hard time developing, as we do have a little bit of a warm layer in the atmosphere. We'll probably be able to see it on the sounding here. Yeah, so that little bulge you see right in here, that's a little bit of a cap. Honestly, storms could just punch right through that, to be quite fair. Given that we do have a fairly decent source of lift, being that cold front being strong enough that should just be able to pierce right through that. And even then, it's not that much of a strong cap. I mean, there is a bit of a capping inversion, yes, but I have a feeling that storms could still break through that, especially with the cold front that we have here. Anyways, with this being said, there is a little bit of veering in the lower atmosphere. So looking at our lower level winds, the winds are kind of going to the northeast. We gain altitude a couple kilometers. The winds, ever so slightly change their direction a little bit more easterly. Photographs, once again, little arch here, suggesting that very thing. That the winds are increasing in wind speed with altitude and changing slightly in direction more to the east with altitude. So with that being said, looking also at our helicity values here, could promote maybe some tornadic activity. It does seem quite possible, which we'll have to see. Okay, we'll definitely have to keep an eye out there for that. We'll see what happens. Remember, it's still kind of early talk here. But, possibly, some tornadic activity, maybe some small hail, maybe some gusty winds could be a concern in a sounding like this. So definitely do need you to be weather aware out there, okay? See, Hoop says, thanks for all you do. No problem. Let's see here. Roadster says, I really appreciate Drew's attention to us Hodo nerds. I try to keep it relatively friendly for everybody, for people who don't even know what a hodograph is. I try to explain it the best. Basically, photographs are very important for us, visually seeing what the wind shear is doing in the atmosphere. So basically, the photograph, what we're using it for is to take a look if there is, changes in wind direction and an increase in wind speed with altitude. Like I've mentioned 100 times already. Photographs are very, very useful for forecasting. All right, let's see here. I'm going to have to scroll down a bit because I'm really, really far behind here. Definitely hate tornadic storms. Oh, yeah, you and me both. You and me both. Alrighty. Let's see here. Next up, we have Chris. I got you, my friend. Let's go ahead and take a look at your area. So, Chris, you are in Georgia. You're out here in Georgia. So, believe it or not, we do have a risk here for Monday. Monday, you are in that 15% chance area from the Storm Prediction Center. So, you do have a risk for severe weather on Monday. Remember, Monday is the day you need to be weather aware, okay? Looking at the models, so you're kind of near Atlanta, slightly south of Atlanta here. So, looking at the models, like the GFS, just getting an idea, of what the environment could look like. Remember, this is not going to 100% match up to the day of, more than likely. But here going into Monday, GFS really doesn't show a whole lot of instability out here. I mean, we have enough for storms. Let's grab a sounding for kind of the afternoon here on Monday. Just kind of see what the GFS suggests. Okay, so with that being said, looking right off the bat, we do actually have some decently strong winds throughout our lower mid-atmosphere, believe it or not, even far down south in Georgia here. Once again, not a lot of instability. It should definitely still be enough, though, to get things rolling, get storms kicking and whatnot. There's really not a whole lot of veering winds here. Our lower level winds are fairly moving in the same direction, as you can kind of see here. Photograph is pretty much just a straight line almost. I mean, there's a slight curvature here, but nothing really anything aggressive. Given that, obviously helicity values as well, putting all this into consideration, tornadic activity is possible, but it would likely remain weak, likely remain brief, just given early guidance from what this model is suggesting. Once again, one model. This is just one model. This is one run. This is one sounding. This is just, kind of an early view of what things could look like over here overall. So that is that. So we'll definitely keep it out there for your region. Main concern, though, honestly, would probably be the potential for gusty winds. I think that damaging winds is going to probably be the main concern here for Georgia. Remember, that's not final, but, that is the possibility here. Okay, let's see here. No way, dude. Hoops coming in with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Hoops. I appreciate it for the 20, man. You did not have to do that. Saying shout out to you for your help. I'm kind of excited for storms. You helped me a lot. You helped a lot of people today. I am glad I can. Hoops, thank you so much for the 20. You did not have to do that. I'm excited for storms too. I've always been a storm lover, but not whenever they are, potentially damaging. That's when I kind of draw the line. But Hoops, thank you so much for the 20, my friend. I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. Dude, what? Hoops coming in with another 10. With the salute back to you, man. Thank you so much, dude. Big shout out goes to you, Hoops. Y'all in chat, please give Hoops a big thank you. I appreciate your support, dude. Thank you so much. Y'all are awesome. I really appreciate it. Y'all definitely do help us stay afloat and help keep us rolling. So thank you. Hoops, big shout out to you, man. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Twilight wants me to take a look at a zip code. I got you. Let's go ahead and take a look here. So you're up in Indiana. You're not far from Indianapolis area. Gotcha. Okay, so for Sunday, so you are in that 15% risk area here for Sunday. So like I said, Sunday, Monday, those are the two big days for severe weather. Your threat's going to be on Sunday. So you do have a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather. So that is, a 15% chance of seeing severe weather within a 25-mile radius of your location. So, once again, it's a little early for the exact breakdown between tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds. It's still a little early for all that. But generally speaking, there is a 15% chance for, just seeing severe weather in general, okay? So, hopping over here to the models, we're going to take a look and see what we're dealing with here, here in the models. Looking at the GFS, so obviously we approach our way into late Sunday. Let's go and grab a little sounding, just near Indianapolis there. GFS, the model we're looking at, does support a decent amount of instability or fuel for these storms. So, storm activity is going to be quite possible. Honestly, looking right off the bat here, what I am noticing is that there is a bit of veering here in the, obviously the photograph. We have a little bit of an arch. You probably heard me mention that a lot today. So what that is kind of indicating here is that, once again, our wind direction is changing more easterly the higher we go up in altitude. So, for example, here on the ground, so on ground level, the winds are kind of going to the northeast, okay? So as we go up a couple of kilometers, I'm not expecting you to know what a kilometer is. I know a lot of people don't know what a kilometer is, but going up a couple of kilometers, which isn't super, super high, but, a little bit higher up, the wind direction does change to the east. So going from the northeast, it changes and goes to the east, okay? So that promotes the potential for spin in the atmosphere and the potential for tornadic activity, okay? So we'll keep it out there for that. Helicity values here, does support that very thing, so there is support for possible tornadic activity out there, okay? Keep that in mind. Also, large hail could be a concern, and also gusty winds. Really kind of a triple threat hazard type of sounding here. Remember, though, like I said, this is early guidance. This is one model run. I've been saying that a lot. Like I said, it's true. It is one model run. So there is a very good chance that the atmosphere could look different than what this is depicting, okay? So keep that in mind. But with what we have here, with the knowledge we have currently, it does look like there could be an all hazards threat out here, okay? We'll definitely keep an eye out there for it. Alrighty, let me see here. There ain't no way, dude. Proxy coming in with a $50 donation. Proxy, thank you once again for the support. Proxy coming in with a $50 super chat. No way. Proxy, thank you so much for that. That is really, really sweet of you, my friend. Saying shout out to Andrew and the awesome mods. Shout out to you, Proxy. Thank you so much for the support. Y'all in chat, please give Proxy a big thank you as well. I appreciate it. Y'all, seriously, thank you for your support. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Like I said, y'all don't have to donate or anything like that, but I truly, truly do appreciate the people who do, because, like I said, you guys really do help keep us afloat here. I can never thank y'all enough. You guys really do help make this possible. But Proxy, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Hoops as well. Appreciate it. Also, let's see here. Wait a minute. What? There ain't no way. Hold on a minute. Hoops donated another 20? Saying you thought I was done? Dude, I am grateful with what you sent, man. Seriously. Hoops with another 20, dude. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Also, Jack of Blades with the 2. Dude, y'all are very sweet. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Hoops. Thank you, Jack of Blades. Thank you, Prox. Y'all are awesome. Big shout out goes to you guys. Thank you, guys. Seriously. Jack of Blades, thanks for the 2, saying, when I get a chance, can I check on 46184? I got you, my friend. Thank you, guys. Seriously, once again, I'm very grateful for that support. Like I said, you guys definitely do help us out a ton, and you guys help make this possible. So, big thank you, my friend. Okay, so you're out here by Indianapolis. So we do have a 15% chance out here regarding severe weather probability for Sunday. So Sunday, we do have that risk out there regarding the potential for severe weather. So, bit of a heads up to you guys out there. I think we were actually just looking out here towards the Indianapolis region. Yeah, we were. So, generally speaking, for the Indianapolis region, we are talking kind of an all hazards concern. Potential for a couple isolated tornadoes, damaging wind gusts and some hail is possible. Remember, though, this is one model that was supporting that. This is early guidance here. Things are bound to change between now and then. There's a chance it could stay where it's at, and there could still be that triple threat, or things could change between now and then, essentially. So, obviously, we are about 3 days away from this event at this point. We're getting right around the 3-day mark, because today's pretty much over with. So, with that being said, obviously, the closer we do get to the event, the more information we're going to have here. But, yeah, remember, all hazards does seem to be possible as of now throughout those regions there overall. All right, let's see here. Rocka says, has my area changed for Sunday? I'm here in West Central Indiana. So we have a lot of people in Indiana, man. Kind of the same thing applies for you as well. I'm going to grab another sounding here for the West Central side of Indiana. Probably not going to be much of a difference here. Honestly, so, an isolated, very weak tornado even in this sounding couldn't be ruled out. But to be quite fair, the tornado threat does seem a little bit lower on the sounding here in general. Still going to be a potential for some gusty winds and, maybe some hail and whatnot. We'll see. Like I said, tornadic activity does seem possible, throughout like central Indiana and whatnot. Still a little early to take it too specifically. So I would still say keep an out there for all hazards, being a concern, even out there. Let's see here. Give time for Drew to catch up. I'm so far behind. I'm so sorry, y'all. It's hard, man. It's hard, but try my best here. All right, Steele, I got you, my friend. I wonder how many zip codes I've done tonight. This is only a handful of them that I've done, these blue markers here. All right, so you, my friend, you're actually just outside of that 15% risk here for Sunday. With that being said, though, GFS here for late Sunday still does support some instability, potential fuel for storms here. Even up into northern Ohio. So let's grab a sounding out here, out there, just to kind of see, what the environment could look like, generally speaking. Okay, so I know this says weak tornado. Like I said, this is not something I would immediately look off of. I know a lot of people look at that and be like, oh my gosh, a tornado right off the bat. So y'all didn't see nothing, okay? Anyways, but one thing I will say, though, if you look at our wind profile, the winds are mostly moving in the same direction. From lower to mid to upper atmosphere, the wind direction is pretty much just moving to the east-northeast. There's really not a lot of veering going on. Even on the photograph, you can see it's relatively just flat. There's a little bump here, ever so slightest of curvature. Even helicities on the lower side of things. Tornadic activity would be likely very low. Tornadic activity would be likely be very, very low in general. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right off the bat. I wouldn't rule it out completely, but tornado probability would not be really the main concern. Honestly, gusty winds would probably be the main issue. Just a potential for some gusty winds and everything. So we'll keep an out there for this region. Remember, SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, does not have you in that current risk here. In that current 15% risk area. But I still want you to watch this area for Sunday, and we'll watch it as well. We'll make sure to help keep you guys weather aware out here. Baxton says, you're awesome, Andrew. Thank you for everything you do. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. Thank you, Steele. I appreciate it. Y'all are very sweet. I appreciate y'all. Let's see here. Nikki says, that was the first time you ever showed me my winds and swirls and stuff. Thank you. I had a rough day when the homeowner insurance was so picky, ridiculous. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Nikki. Hopefully you'll get that fixed soon here. I'm so sorry to hear that. Let's see here. There ain't no way, dude. Hoops coming in with another donation, man. Hoops coming in with another 10. Thank you so much, Hoops. Saying LOL. I appreciate it, dude. Y'all in chat, give Hoops another thanks. I appreciate it, dude. Hoops, my man, is coming in with a lot of support. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for that. Big shout out goes to Hoops. Appreciate you, dude. And if there's anything I can do to help y'all, feel free to let me know. Like I said, we're here for you. Did I finally make it to the bottom of the chat? Holy cow. But Hoops, I appreciate it, my friend. I really do. You're welcome, Steele. No problem. But anyways, folks, well, I'll do a couple more zip codes, and then we're going to call it a night because it is getting a little late here, and I do need to rest up. So we're going to do another update tomorrow morning, probably at some point. I'm not sure when. Definitely another tomorrow evening as well. We'll keep you guys informed here. We'll, continue to give you guys updates on everything, and, we'll keep y'all posted. But like I said, if y'all have any final questions before I roll off here, go ahead and throw them down. If y'all have any zip codes, y'all know what to do. Let's see here. Is there a chance that models trend north towards me? There is always that possibility, this far out. But we'll see. We'll see. I still do notice a bit of disagreement in the models, though, so we'll see. Amber says, how's Frankfurt tonight? Frankfurt, Kentucky tonight. So let's go and take a look at the risk here for day one. I don't think we have anything going on out here. Yep, so we do have a generalized thunderstorm risk. Potential for a few boom booms, but nothing really crazy. Yeah, no severe weather tonight. Yeah, honestly, things are not looking super, super crazy out there. But yeah, don't be surprised if we do get some showers and and stuff like that through the region tonight. But to be quite fair, nothing big really going on out there. I'll even pull up the model for you real quickly. We'll pull up HRRR real quick. See what's kind of going on out there. Yeah, you can see there could be a couple showers lingering through. Going in the early morning here, a couple showers, maybe some boom booms included. But to be quite fair, yeah, it doesn't really look like there's a whole lot of anything crazy. Just a general thunderstorm risk, just potential for a few thunderstorms. But the good news is that, it's not an environment where severe weather is expected. So that's good. Cassie says, thanks for live update. Hey, you're very welcome, Cassie. No problem. Paxton, I got you. Let's go and take a look at yours real quickly. Let's see here. You were up in Ohio. Okay, so you're out there by Dayton area. Okay, so that does put you in a 15% chance here for Sunday. So on Sunday, we do have a chance for severe weather. We do have that 15% chance out there, in general. So we definitely do need to keep an eye out there for you. Taking a look here. At the soundings. Actually, we already have the right time up here. So we're going to take a look at the GFS, kind of get an example of what the atmosphere could look like out there by the Dayton area. So this is late Sunday, going into early Monday here. All right, given a sounding here, there's a slight curvature to our hodograph there, showing that there is a bit of veering winds here in the lower atmosphere. So our surface winds are moving to the northeast. As we gain altitude here, we do have ourselves... let's see here. We do have ourselves the winds that are changing direction more to the east here. So there is some veering going on. So once again, GFS here is suggesting here that we are going to be seeing potentially, not only a change in wind direction with altitude gain, but also an increase in wind speed with altitude gain. So that is that. So tornadoes, because of this, and looking at our helicity values, could support some tornadic activity. Likely wouldn't be anything significant. If we did get tornadoes, likely would be on the lower scale of things. But yeah, tornadoes can't be ruled out in this environment here. Maybe some small hail included. Maybe some gusty winds as well. Would kind of be the main concern there is probably just some gusty winds. But we'll keep you updated here. Let me actually compare this. I want to see what NAM kind of suggests. NAM does show a bit more instability here. This is for early Monday, by the way. This is instead of late Sunday, it's early Monday. So NAM, oh wow, NAM actually suggests quite a strong lower level jet here. Look at that. Lower level winds are actually very strong according to NAM here. Because of that does increase our helicity. We still do have that veering winds here. NAM is a bit more aggressive, I ain't gonna lie, but that's not anything unlike NAM, because NAM's always crazy usually. So it does seem a tornadic environment is going to be possible for this area. Tornadoes can't be ruled out. Gusty winds could be possible too. Maybe some small hail, but once again, there's kind of a big difference between those two models. There's obviously still a bit of disagreement here. So we'll see what happens as later runs and stuff come through. Anyways, Nikki says, Andrew was on the live with me when the tornado was over us. I remember that. I was so scared. Roof damage from that tornado is what got us turned down on the insurance with repairs. Oh, me and my service dog are alive. I'm glad, Nikki. I'm glad I was there to be. I'm glad I was there for you that night, and I'm glad that you're okay. Once again, hey, objects, items can be replaced, but lives cannot. And the fact that you made it out okay, and also your dog made it out okay, that is what truly matters. That is what truly matters. And I'm very, very happy that you did make it out, of course. And I'm glad that I was able to be there to help you during that night. I mean, it just goes to show you, we can help you guys out. and I'll do everything I can in my power to make sure that you guys are staying weather aware, okay? Yeah, Steel, I got you. Let me take a look at that real quickly. See what we got going on out here. This is up in Ohio, northern Ohio. Okay, when we look at NAM. Actually, NAM. Here we go. This is, okay, let's go and grab a little sounding here from NAM for you. This is late Monday. This is like 10, 11 p.m. your time, roughly. Okay, so we do have a little bit of veering, a little bit of change in those wind direction you can see. So the winds at surface level are moving to the northeast. As we go up in altitude, they do change a little bit more to the east here. We do have ourselves a bit of an arch on our hodograph there. Not a whole lot of instability, but enough to get storms going. An isolated tornado could be possible given this environment. But remember, that's also NAM. So we'll see what happens. Let's go back to GFS real quickly. See what GFS was suggesting here. Yeah, GFS does suggest maybe some weak tornadic activity out there as well. Yeah, I wouldn't rule out tornadic activity. We'll see, but remember, you're just outside of that 15% as of now. I still would keep an out there for your area, for your area Steel. So we'll definitely we'll keep an eye out there for your region. We'll see what happens. Let's see here. See, I was told by the owner when I moved from California they don't have. Oh, whoops. Did the message get deleted? Whoops. Never mind, I was reading that. I guess it got deleted. Anyways, how come NAM looks different? It's because NAM is a different model. It's formulated a little differently. Plus, NAM's a mid-range model, and GFS is a long-range model. Mid-range models have a little bit better resolution as well. But, all right, my friends. Well, I'm probably going to roll off here for now. Like I said, we're going to call it a night for now. So tomorrow on the table, I do plan on going live sometime in the afternoon or morning. We'll see. And, of course, I'm going to go live tomorrow evening as well to keep you guys updated with everything. So if you guys could, and if you haven't already, consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you guys on your way out could leave a like as well, it'd be greatly appreciated. Most important thing you guys can do to help, just everybody out in general is share this channel to your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, anybody you really can that you know. Tell them to subscribe, as well, because, like I said, this could be very helpful information, to people in the future. And, like I said, I cover the whole states. I cover mostly the main 48 states, but, for all types of weather, we're here to help you get through them. I'm here to keep you, keep y'all updated and whatnot. But anyways, all right, I appreciate y'all for joining. Once again, we'll be back tomorrow morning. It's just getting a little late here, and plus, an hour and 40-ish minutes of streaming, doing zip codes I think it helped out a pretty good amount of people tonight. Very, very satisfied with that. So. All right, everybody. Well, y'all try not to worry about this event. I get it's a little nerve-wracking, but we'll get through this together. Like I said, we got this, and, we still have multiple days to prepare here. Just make sure you guys have a plan in place, know where to go if a warning is issued. Say the time we approach the severe weather event, just make sure you know where to go. Like, say if a tornado warning is issued or, a nasty severe thunderstorm warning, know where to seek shelter. Obviously, if you have a basement storm shelter, that would be the best place to go. If not, which not everybody does, go to the central interior portion of your home, on the lowest floor, such as a closet, a bathroom on the interior lowest floor portion of your home would be the best. If you're in a trailer, I would recommend going somewhere else for the day, because trailers are not going to provide you any protection, unfortunately. So I would recommend maybe going to a friend's house, a family's house, just for the day until the severe weather passes. That way you'd be ready to seek shelter in more of a better structurally integrated place. And then, yeah, that's pretty much the advice I got to give you now. We'll see what happens. Like I said, we'll keep you guys updated, and in your safe spot, it wouldn't hurt to, maybe bring some, non-perishable food, some water, maybe a first aid kit, helmet, let's see here. Did I already say shoes, flashlight, extra batteries, maybe weather radio if you don't have one, or if you do have one. If you don't have one, I'd recommend getting one somewhere. You can get them on Amazon, Walmart, whatever. They could be life-saving, and really would recommend that you guys get weather radios. Really would. But anyways, folks, well, I appreciate y'all for joining. Once again, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. We'll keep you guys updated. And alrighty, my friends. Well, thank you all so much once again for joining. Before I do roll off here, I do want to go ahead and give another thank you to all of our supporters, because we had a lot of support tonight. I'm very thankful for you guys. Thank you all so much for, once again, your support. So let me go ahead and go through our supporters today. So we had Proxy. Thank you so much, Proxy. We had Hoops. We have Jack of Blades. Those were the main supporters today. I really appreciate y'all. So Jack of Blades, Hoops, and Proxy, thank you guys so much for all your support. I'm leaving hearts on all of y'all's donations. So thank you once again, everybody, for the support. I appreciate it. Thank you all for everybody just joining, hanging out here with us. But on your way out, my friends, once again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a like if you could. It would be greatly appreciated. But all right, my friends, thank you all so much for joining. Stream's going to head off here in approximately 1 minute. So go ahead and say goodbye to your friends, your family, anybody you're hanging out with in the chat. But all right, my friends, we'll catch you all tomorrow. Y'all stay safe. Try not to worry about it. We'll get through this together. And all right, my friends, thank you all once again for joining. Y'all take care. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining. Catch y'all in the next one. Peace out, my friends. See ya later on.